Hello, everyone. So happy to be here on this second episode of uh, of this idea that I've imagined quite a long time back, and I have the pleasure to finally be able to do it. And this episode, the second episode after Hayato Sumino, comes here in Warsaw. We're right now in Silesia Music Home, and well, I have next to me a man that I think he doesn't need so much introduction, but still he's Luca Fazioli, and well, he should be known for the wonderful instruments that the company in which he's in, Fazioli Pianoforte, makes. So
Thank you.
well,
Thank you, Martin.
welcome.
Thank you for having me here, and it's always a pleasure to spend time with you, not just hear your music, but laugh together. And
Being loud in many ways.
yes, exactly.
So, first of all, what does a piano as an instrument mean for you? Maybe personally, or maybe also professionally. That might be different. I don't know.
Well, it's of course is for me piano is something which I've been grew up with. We always had one at home. I remember it was the F228, and so I've been since I was a kid. Crawling under the piano, see the structures. I was always fascinated by this beautiful, I would call, piece of art. But even more, I think I was really fell in love with when I understood and when I realized what a piano can mean for a pianist, for an artist. I'm not a pianist, but I've been, of course, grew up with I've been prepared to know and the inside of the instrument, the action, the soundboard, everything. So, but the real magic, it happened when the artist, he really is inspired by the piano and he can create the magic on the stage. So for me, the main goal for a piano is to match with the tones and with the sound that the artist is thinking. And when these two requirements from the piano and from the pianist, they meet together, that's real when the magic starts. So this is my my view for a piano, which should be, I think, the view for also for a pianist. You can correct me if I'm wrong.
No, that's completely true. And actually, many people, including me, when we go to a concert hall, maybe to listen to a pianist, we see the pianist and we think about what he's doing. And if there is something very special about what he's doing, we tend to focus on him. And even I sometimes forget that it's half and half. It's really half and half. We need both sides. We need a piano maker or the person who is taking care of the piano really being kind of in full agreement with the pianist. Sometimes happens intuitively, or sometimes happens by luck, which can happen too, maybe. Sometimes we don't even have a contact with the technician. That happens too. But in the case with Fazioli pianos, well, it's really half and half. We have to maybe talk a little bit, see what we want, and well, the magic happens on the stage thanks to both sides,
Yeah,
basically.
I agree.
Yes. So, what would you say? It goes on the same line of questions, but what would you say it's what is a good piano? If you could say it in an abstract way, not in a particular way, but in an abstract way. You kind of responded it before, but or maybe what do you want to strive for when you are making a piano?
Right. Well, it's for us of course there are several requirements that and several, let's say, we call quality requirements that each piano need to have. But for sure, one of the most important subjects is the sound, which is the DNA of our piano, and all of our instruments, they follow a specific DNA, which is characterized by the tone, so first of all is the sustain. So that's all our pianos should always have a sound which is as long as possible, especially on the right side of the keyboard. The tone should be always clear, which should not be confused with bright, because maybe bright is can be too sharp, but clear is the right tone, because also it goes together with the depth. So a clear tone, but which can have a very profound space when you play soft, either when you play loud. And of course, we never want to go towards like maybe a metallic or like a dark sound, because we believe that when you have like a clear tone, then of course by having a very fine technique, very good control of the keyboard, then is the pianist that can modulate and can achieve maybe a more darker tone, sometimes using a bit or 1/3, 2/3, or 3/3 of the left pedal. So there is always a way. And this is the main point. To achieve this, there's several parts of the instrument that help and are important for this goal. And of course, the soundboard is the most important, I would say, but also the action. And here it comes with the second point, which is what we look for the quality, and that's the feeling on the touch. Of course, the action needs to be as easy as possible, but maybe not too much. Otherwise, it becomes hard in a way to control. We have to always find a balance. And for this reason, we always, or as much as possible, we try to collect feedback from artists, which are those who can really test and experience the piano under pressure on the stage, and of course they are the best reference for us. So I would say these two standards are what we try to bring every time we go out with our pianos, and of course the technician need to be the bridge. So need to be the person who can collect those feedback. Sometimes the artists come to our factory and concert hall, but it's mostly like the opposite, where we bring our piano outside. So yeah, I would say those two are the main point for us, and then still we stay and we hear and we basically follow what the pianist says. Of course, we have also our point of view, but which is important to keep, but also to rely on what the pianist says.
Do you think that there is something also in an abstract way, because pianists, like artists in general, we like to express things in a little bit artistic way? We don't use technical adjectives. We use ideas that a sound reminds us of, like this sound is warm. That's a very basic idea. Or this sound, I don't know, reminds me of the sound of running water, for example, on the higher register. Do you think that there is something like that in an abstract sense, that every pianist in the world and every piano maker in the world are having as one goal, perhaps, what every single artist in the world wants from a piano, that they might get or they might not get? I don't know, but
I think your question is interesting, especially from the point that to understand pianists is really difficult.
Trust me, I know.
And you are one of the easier ones, perhaps. But there are literally, okay, first of all, there are probably all communications, which could be generated by the language. So different language and different even culture can determine a difficult way how a pianist can describe the action, which is maybe not fast enough, and maybe for describe this, sometimes they use perhaps the word that the action is too heavy. And so first things, if you literally follow the words that the pianists give you, then you have to think about, oh my God, now I have to change all the weight of the keys. But the real truth that is maybe this is not the case. It could be that maybe by lubricating the action and doing some precise adjustments on the regulation, then you can solve the problem. So it's always important to to hear what the pianist want to say, want to ask on the piano, and then think about, and of course, trying the piano before and after the pianist tell you something. So then you can understand what's the specific action to do on the piano. I'm not a technician. I mean, I've been, of course, working with our technician, but going to all different, concerts, sometimes piano competition as well. It helped us to develop like a vocabulary, which is fundamental to translate what the artist need and immediately to act and operate on the piano. I guess this was the question, right? Was
Yeah,
how to
kind of. If maybe if you think that it's relative to each pianist, what every pianist or every piano maker wants to achieve from a piano. If there is one goal, or you think that there are several standards depending on the pianist.
Yes. So I will say a traditional piano factories, a piano maker is sitting on the factory making the piano and maybe hoping that there is like an acceptance from the pianist. We try to do a bit of different. We have a different approach. We go out, we listen, and then we bring back to the factory information important to set up the piano. Of course, if pianists will tell us to change the DNA of our sound, we'll say no, because and this is the beauty of choice. So that's the beauty of and the freedom that the artist should have when he chooses a piano on stage, beside the brand, but to choose the tone that better fit for his music, for his for his idea of sound. And so in our case, we need to translate these ideas and into concrete action to make on the piano. But yeah, the goal for piano makers, if you're making pianos for house, let's say, then perhaps you don't have to, or maybe piano for amateurs, piano for for clients who doesn't play the piano, they want the piano to play on its own with the player system. You don't need to work with artists. You can just have your own way and of course basically spend money on marketing. We don't do this. Our piano are 100% acoustic. We just present a couple of days ago actually a new model. So that's where we want to invest on the acoustic piano and piano for professionals. So that's our philosophy, to always think about how can the acoustic piano can be more fit for professional or for who is approaching to the piano world, looking to become perhaps one day a pianist.
So one last question about that subject, because it's actually very interesting for me, might be for listeners too. You mentioned several times the DNA of your sound. How would you characterize that DNA?
Well, the DNA,
if you can, because it's something also very abstract in a way.
So sometimes I think about like a person. Each person has a DNA, but still, I mean, as a person, I can go to the hair salon and change my hair. My DNA will remain the same.
Yes.
So in a way, like the same as the piano and the tones, you can change a little bit the tones of the piano, but the characteristic will remain the same because the soundboard doesn't change, and the hammers. Okay, yes, you can change, but it takes like a long operation. So the DNA, the way how we want our sound is, as I tried to say before, a very singing tone, a very nice singing tones where we can go close to what is the bel canto italiano. The Italian language, it's basically perhaps also similar to the Spanish, I would
in a
say,
way, yeah.
in a way, but very different from North Europeans.
Yes.
It's characterized by some, we want to give more tones to the sound, and the same should be the sound of the piano. 100 years ago, there were many piano makers in Italy, and perhaps this culture of the Italian sound, it was more present before, and in the last, I would say, century, things has shrink a lot, and up to today that we remain the only piano maker in Italy, I would say, but with the Italian DNA, which is the Italian sound. Of course, today people can travel, they can experience different sound, but it's like the orchestra, for example. I always like to to use the parallel with orchestra. Before orchestras, 100 years ago, it was harder to travel. So
Yes.
the Italian orchestra, they had a sound which was typical of their member of the orchestra, which were Italian. A Spanish orchestra was like made of Spanish musicians. And so then you could characterize very well what was the sound of one orchestra. And same was for the piano. But then, as I said before, things changed, and then there was a big reduction
Yes.
on piano makers. Speaking about orchestras, everybody, musicians could travel overseas, so there is more of a mixture of musicians. So it's maybe now is even better than before, but speaking about the sound, maybe before it was, I would say, more authentic. So we try to be very authentic in the Italian side, making a parallel with the Italian sound.
To me, what you mentioned, that something like a singing sound, that is something that I would love to see always in something related to the piano. It's something that that connects the piano to the human being in a musical sense. And I cannot imagine other thing, just singing, because poetry could be connected in a way, but it's not musical. It can be musical if you give it tone. But then we are going into the musical side. For me, really the fantastic word for characterizing the union between the pianist or the music and the piano is that striving for a piano to be singing, which is it's a lifetime achievement actually, because it's a lot of work.
I agree.
Anyway, why do you think we keep listening nowadays to basically to the same music over and over from 200 years ago, basically? Romantic period, mostly some like late classical music.
Well, in a way, I would say that the real magic, so the real magic between the artist and the piano happen on stage, and each time is different. So the same pianist could play the same music, the same repertoire on a different stage with a different piano, so with a different acoustic, and be differently inspired from before. So that's the main reason why we keep going to concert, to live concert, and I think this will never end. So and I have big hope about this, especially because if we can try to have in the market more of a diverse context with different tones of pianos, and of course with musicians who they strive not too much to be perfect technically speaking, because if everybody will be perfectly technically speaking, then why you will have to go to listen to another perfect concert, perfect technically from the technical point of view. But no, you go to a concert to hear the way how the pianist can make the music singing, the piece, like like go through the different ideas, and of course, the technical requirement is an important one. Is you need to have the basic of techniques, but still, I've seen that in the long term, the audience is inspired not by those pianists who are really doing everything perfect, but on those pianists who can make the music sing and try to really elevate the piece to like what you mentioned before, the poetry. Poetry is what maybe you don't remember the word, but then you remember that in that moment you've been inspired. So that should be the best memory of a concert.
I miss the times when someone would go to listen to Horowitz. I never had the pleasure. Of course, I came too late into live. I'm sad, but those times when people went to hear Horowitz to basically mess up half of his concert, but it's just the experience is really for no words. He was a man who could make poetry from music by saying half of the words. It's really incredible. So that also I strive for. I work very hard on the technical aspect. We need that technical aspect, but the goal is different. That's for sure. So do you think that there is any music more profound than other music. So
Huh.
even within classical music or other genres, or no, maybe no.
Yeah, well, I would say for me personally, it depends from really the month of the year. It depends from the season, and if I'm like, if I feel the mood, of course,
Hmm.
and sometimes even during the day of the week, you know.
That's true.
Uh, it could be that maybe at the beginning of the week I like more maybe romantic repertoire, more more sweet piece, but maybe on the weekend, I select to listen to some of the more virtuoso
Hmm.
performance. So yeah, it's I like both, and of course, uh, because we also work with the jazz pianist. Sometimes I get to hear jazz concerts, and of course maybe more in the summertime. I would say in
Hmm.
this case, but yeah, also the I think jazz musicians is also very tough their work because and their the way to make the music because sometimes or most of the time they play in the trio,
Hmm.
so they have to connect with other musicians on
Yes.
stage and and they don't have like a sheet. They don't have anything to follow. Sometimes, yeah, of course, they agree on
Some very basic, yeah,
on
structural
basic
things,
structure,
but
but yeah, still they need to. They have the nervousism of the stage, they and the performance. Plus, yeah, they have to connect themselves. So I really look at them with a great admiration. So in this way, if the piano can help also a jazz musician, it makes me even more happy sometimes.
hmm.
Um, but yeah, the beauty is exactly to have this diversity of music, and I hope that it will always be like this.
Yeah, whatever taps you in the moment. Actually, that's what's more profound at the
Yeah,
moment.
exactly.
That's completely true. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
So, what do you think is the ultimate goal of a pianist? Let's put it this way. Uh, on a personal level, as I was saying in the previous episode, uh, my ultimate goal is more a path than an ultimate goal, because it is really that, tapping back to what you said before, uh, that job of inspiring, or the job of trying to be a bit more transcendent, out of the daily lives of each one of the audience members. Uh, I think all pianists want to take each person who is listening to them out of their daily lives, their worries, and uh, and just put them, maybe if we are lucky or if we have a good day too, in a better place, if we can, and maybe inspire them for some change in life. Uh, Whatever goes on those lines, it's that's actually important. That's actually important as a goal.
I would think the goal, of course, the goal of the pianist could be to be reinvited in a season sometimes. Even though if that's the case, then you probably, of course, you need this for your career. Uh, but I will say the ultimate goal for me, I'm not a pianist, but I've been seeing many in the last years at
That's for
least,
sure.
is to have the audience who remain at the end of the concert and they want to shake the hands, for example.
Hmm.
And that's, I would say, the best meters, or could be a good meters, to understand if the audience really was inspired by the musician.
Hmm.
Because then, if on a more deeper level, if the listener is getting in love with the music, then you want to know more, because
Hmm.
the music is always an expression of the character of the pianist. So to me, if I'm inspired by the pianist, I want to talk to him to see what is his voice, what is
Hmm.
his character, and see, oh wow, I heard that piece played in that way, and actually it matched with his personality.
Hmm.
So for me, yes, this will be the a good meter, and I hope that could be the.
That's very good, because because also many artists tend to think in, again, a very abstract way, and that's a very good meter. That's a very good clear goal at the end of each concert. That's why I also think about each concert like my last concert, in a way.
Just finger crossed.
Exactly.
It's not-
Fingers crossed, it's not the last, but let's hope not.
Yes.
Fast music or slow music?
It's okay.
Everyone says me too. I'm
Oh.
more for depending on the mood.
Yeah.
But lately I go more. There is more percentage of slow music in my life than fast music.
You still have to build your program at the end
Yeah.
before playing a concert. So it's a big decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it depends, of course. I mean, it depends of how you want to build, the program on a concert. But I said before that sometimes it depends from my mood, what I want to listen. But
On a personal level,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter even in a concert. Yeah, on a
I
personal
think
level.
on a personal level, I always like to be, to find the slow piece, because the the music which are more romantic, more inspired by the tones, the way how the pianist can make the tone singing, because again, you have it stays into your memory longer than like a wonderful and crazy Tchaikovsky concerto or a great Liszt sonata. So it's of course you can even inspire audience with those great pieces. I've been, of course, listening wonderful performance in this respect, but still, yeah. If I think, and also, sorry, it depends from the age of the pianist. Sometimes
That's true.
when you're young, you always want to, show
Yeah.
your muscles. But then when you go into your 30s, 40s, then it comes the real, I think, maturity of a pianist, because then you can, I mean, you can even play on a deep level when you're younger. Don't take me wrong, but on average, I've seen, that the path is
That's
more
natural, yeah.
this,
For sure, natural.
because musicians is growing up, is changing, and then it's developing. So I think it's beautiful to see the developments of the
Yeah.
personality into the music.
So, like every question, it always has asterisks, whatever is the question. I agree.
Yeah. No black or white.
Exactly.
Only the keys are black or white.
Yes. But what do you think the word virtuoso means? Now, a dictionary definition might not be the actual nowadays definition of the word, because it has changed a lot during the past 50 years. People think about the word virtuoso in a different way. But what do you think is a virtuoso artist?
Well, when I think about the word virtuoso, of course, the first things that comes to my attention is Franz Liszt. And, I was
Yeah.
I was born in well, my birth is his birth too. So
That's true.
but I'm not
I
a
had forgotten. Yeah, that's true.
but I'm not a virtuoso like him at all. But it made actually me thinking about what does this mean, and definitely the goal perhaps was to impress against with the virtuosism on the keyboard, the audience, and of course at that time it was perhaps maybe easier to impress, because of course there was maybe a unique case. But today's, I think this word virtuoso is used a lot, because there's a lot of musicians who try to, show off their technique, the precision, the perfection, and that's the way to go. That's the way to go. And for me, yeah, when I see a pianist, a young pianist who want to show the muscles, then yes, it's a nice moment to enjoy your eyes. And we also need this. So definitely, I would say that
I agree. Yeah.
sometimes sometimes you want to remind to yourself what that this means. So luckily, sometimes there are some young pianists who like to do like a fire Liszt sonata or yeah, it's that will be my way. So to connect to Maestro Liszt.
Do you know, I remember now from what you said, a phrase that Arkady Volodos said once to my professor, who was the same professor of Arkady Volodos. Galina Yazarova is her name. And he said that a true virtuosic person in the modern sense would be that who could play the utmost beautiful four pianos, five pianos inside of a piano, so the softest possible, and really control the tone, control the phrasing in the absolutely uh, uh, softest sound possible, mellowness. And you know what? I would agree because I have much more trouble working with controlling really how a phrase goes up and down in the softest passages, like I don't know, Mon po musica callada, for example, or the second part of Liszt Sonata, for example. But everyone focuses on the really on the fire and the war, and that's very interesting to me. That gives a new meaning to the word virtuoso, away also from the dictionary definition, something that is very, very special on the piano, and it actually requires a lot of work.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. And not being a pianist, I mean, sometimes we don't understand exactly what does this mean, but yeah, even when we make a piano, when we talk to a pianist and we understand and we ask him what you really need, then it's also because you want to prepare. You want to prepare to be ready and fresh on the stage, so you also need a good piano for practicing. So that's why it's important to experience. Sometimes pianists, they have two pianos at home. One is more close to a stage, let's say action, then the other one is more hard. So then you can play on made up your muscles. So, but again, it's so personal that sometimes this is not the case. Sometimes you really want to have a concert run at your home and you want to practice on that. So we need to be open in a way to hear what the pianist wants. That's our point of view. If you and of course being humble, because depends maybe from the country, but I always have seen that pianists, they grow up, at least in the southern part of Italy, being sort of an outlier. You're in your class, you're maybe the only one playing the piano, and everybody else, they play soccer, they play other games, maybe group games, and so then when they grow up, they develop maybe some very special personality for which you need to be humble to well approach them, because you can never expect what they want to say because of the different way how they grow up. So yeah, that's also something for us to take care of.
You just defined a little bit my childhood, by the way. It's very, very interesting. Do you have a moment, or maybe remember an episode in your life that changed something in your view of music in general? Let's put it this way. Maybe something related to the piano, but in a general way, maybe music. Particular moment that that made you shocked, made you change your conception of what music.
One of the important moments of my life when I go to a concert is when, of course, when I go to those concerts where I'm inspired, and of course sometimes the big, when you hear like a big name, so senior pianist, then of course you have great expectations. When you go to hear a concert of a younger musician, maybe you have less expectation because
That's also natural.
the name is different. So so for me, when I go to a concert where I have already some expectation, but then the pianist overcome this, then I think it stays really into my, and it sort of changed me. I think Aldo Ciccolini, where well, now time has passed, so maybe 25 years ago when he played, when I first perhaps heard him perform, then I think he was one of those names who really made an impression on me, because of course he was very famous already at that time. And when I heard his Chopin, the way how he was really developed the singing tone, still with muscles, with power, but with refinement, as you said, going to the pianissimo, triple P, then for me it was great. And I don't think that there is a well, considering that what was my age at that time, I don't think that was another more memorable time. But
So some fast questions. If nothing comes to mind, we go to the next one. I also forgot last time what is maybe my favorite restaurant in the world, you know? So
okay, very easy
it's
question.
normal.
So my favorite restaurant in the world? Interesting. If I would say Italian, it would be very ordinary, but
No, it might be the restaurant that
I
is
would
closest
say
to your home. That's also.
I would say a very good steak house in Italy. Should I have to say the name?
That's your choice,
Let's do
actually.
some advertisement.
Yeah, go ahead.
But yeah, there's in our town, Sacile, there is a wonderful ribs place called La Piola.
Really, La
Yes,
Piola?
I love the ribs.
I've been in La Piola, actually.
Really?
Ah, no, that's very good. I like that. Okay, maybe favorite country?
Favorite country?
I say Japan. I already said it last time, but I say
Yeah.
it twice.
United States.
United States?
Yes.
Really?
Of course.
Oh, that's very nice. That's very nice.
Yeah.
I would swear he would say Italy.
Next to Italy. No, it's true. I love the States.
This is great.
When I can come.
This is great. Okay, favorite pianist from the past.
Okay, Aldo Ciccolini.
There you go.
I called before, so.
I said in the last video, probably for me would be Arthur Rubinstein or Horowitz.
Also.
Yeah, but you know what? You inspired me. I will listen to him today.
Yeah,
this night I will put some of his music. Let's see what happens.
Listen for the Carnival of the Animals. It's wonderful.
Really?
Also, yeah.
Nice. Carnival of the Animals. Okay, favorite single instrument, like one instrument, favorite piano you remember that you were so happy to be in front of that piano. Old, new, doesn't matter.
Okay, so I would say F308. And I would say the F308, you know, not just one specific instrument, but each time I see an F308, I'm really deep fascinated because of the depth that the bass can develop. But recently I played one in Japan by our dealer. Perhaps you know this piano, and each time is a sad moment when I hear that they sell a 308 because I love them so much that each time it goes, of course,
it was just sold. Maybe?
Apparently, yes. Yeah. But we can make new ones. So.
You know what? I didn't know he would say that, but I would say that my favorite single piano is that one. And I remember it for a very single reason. It has in the inside rim, it has the shape of a hedgehog that it repeats. It looks like a hedgehog. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened there, but I love it because I play on that piano. I think it was the piano that I played on my first tour in Japan, and I hold that piano like very dear, very close to my heart, and I love that piano. And that piano was one of the most, sorry, but difficult instruments to play.
Oh, here we go. So
like
sometimes
really, really difficult, but it's my favorite piano, you know. I was half fighting, half loving it for what it is, the sound that it could produce in some instrument. I'm getting chicken goosebumps. Really, it was very, very special. And each time it was actually different. It was very interesting. So I think that's the same piano. It's a very, very special piano. Okay, which piece of music do you think that anyone who is completely new to classical music maybe should listen to for the first piece ever to listen?
First piece ever, I would say not something very common. So maybe could be. I would say a picture of exhibition of modern Mussorgsky. It could be. It has everything. So from the
plenty of variety, yeah. Which composer is closest to your heart?
Interesting. Well, of course, I mean, we are here in Poland. We are in Warsaw, so it's the house of Chopin. I really love Chopin. I mean, it's not as a cliche, but it's as a natural, not just for also great respect, but because each time, you know, I'm listening to some of his composition is always going to the heart, and I think it matched well also with the type of sound of our piano. So I would say that definitely Chopin is one of my favorites. But of course, I mean, I love as well music from Bach, Mozart, and of course as well some Russians. I mean, Rachmaninoff played some wonderful concertos, and sometimes we always have to refresh, not just
Oh yeah.
stick on piano, solo piano, but sometimes piano and orchestra, or sometimes even only symphony. I mean, I love the Beethoven Ninth Symphony, the Sixth Symphony. I mean, I think there's many of those who need to be always running through the ears of everybody to reconfirm some love, or some, be more open to hear other composers.
Yeah, I always respond to that question saying that it's like if you ask someone, what is your favorite food? Maybe someone could say a particular plate, maybe it's spaghetti or something like this, But one could not imagine that favorite food, having it for morning, for lunch, for dinner, 365 days every year. We would really get fed up with it. Although I do know some people that are like, no, I'm sorry, I would like to have it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But in general, I think that's the same idea with music. Even though we have someone who is very close to us, it's good to take some perspective and then come back, and then take perspective and then come back. That that feeling that you get from the same thing is it actually grows in depth. It really grows in depth with variety.
But it's a good comparison
Yeah.
with the food, because it's like even with the quantity. I mean,
Yeah.
if you ask somebody if he loves spaghetti after he ate 150 grams or
Yeah.
200 grams, then he might say, I don't like spaghetti, because maybe he had too much.
Enough.
And maybe
Yeah.
same with music. I mean, if you hear like for a month entirely old music from Mozart, then you might not like him anymore for the next
We had
6
enough.
months. So yeah, I think everything has to be taken with the moderation. So,
Yes. Okay. What is your go-to piece? Maybe if you need to lift your spirits up, or you need to you need to get a little bit in the mood, if you have such a piece.
oh yeah, I mean, if in line with what I said before, I would say the Barcarolle from Chopin is definitely something who can like make a huge effect in relatively of a short time, because it's not so long.
Not at all. Yeah.
It's really very effective for me in terms of reaching the soul.
You know what? For me, it also changes a lot. Barcarolle actually is in my current repertoire. I'm playing that piece a lot, and that's true. That's one of the most difficult pieces I've ever had to approach, because there is so much content inside, and it's so profound. And every time I actually listen to that music, it is lifting your spirits up. Yes, that's for sure. Maybe for me would be recently when I hear one of the songs and dances by Monpo, maybe particularly the fourth one, when the particular Catalonian dance comes, the second dance that comes later in the piece. I mean, I cannot help but smile, even if I am really depressed in that moment. I have to smile after I hear that moment. But it also maybe it changes sometimes. That's the piece that comes to my mind now.
Yes.
What do you think is the most underrated piece of classical music?
Recently I heard some of for example, Marc-André Hamelin. He's not just a wonderful pianist, but a great composer, and I'm always happy when I can hear some pianists that they are putting some of his music, for example, in the program, and still like not just atonal music, but is something which everybody will be potentially able to hear and to digest. Sometimes when you hear maybe some more contemporary or 19th, yes, or 20th century's music, it's sometimes difficult, to find a path where the major audience can follow, and that's maybe what causes the limitation for the audience to connect with art with the artist. And especially if you play in a big city or if you play in a smaller city, maybe in a bigger city, you have more possibility to connect because there's more lover of contemporary, of modern music. Smaller city, you need to be more traditional. So I would say that yeah, it's we need to invest more into dedicate a small section of the program, not small, but if not half, some part of the program also for some living live composers.
Do you know what? That's actually very good. I would say it is underrated, not only one piece, yeah, but the fact that the pianist goes on stage to play their own music, maybe, yeah, 10, 15 minutes at least. That would be very refreshing. And I don't think it would change a lot the whole mood of the program, just to put a couple of pieces, really. If someone is really invested in composing, which is natural for most pianists, we just tend to maybe improvise or find sounds from the piano, and it's natural to compose something. But that's a good idea, yeah. I do agree.
And to experience also maybe the some different function of the piano, for example, using the fourth pedal that we have on our piano, or sometime without damaging the piano, maybe you put a cloth on the string and then you can hear
maybe change
some different sounds. I heard
yeah.
some jazz pianists doing this, and it's a great result. So why not experiment, but without touch the tempers with the hands or without touch the bass strings with the hands. So there is still a way to work on this.
Yeah, there's plenty. There's plenty to do. Okay, do you have a favorite concert hall anywhere in the world, actually, in which you love to actually go and listen to music? Something that comes to mind.
Well, it's of course I love the Philharmonic here in Warsaw. Definitely is a great space for any sort of music, from like virtuosos repertoire to romantic. But I kind of had a similar feeling at the music center in Helsinki, in Finland, which was like this modern style where you have the piano in the center and then all the audience which develop on both sides. 360. I mean, around the piano. So I was really impressed with that, and I hope maybe in the future they can clone, this format. We have something similar maybe in Cremona, the Museum of Violin. In a small section, and even there, the sound is wonderful. So
it's actually pretty nice. I've never been in that concert hall he mentioned there. Yeah. I'm curious. Very curious.
I should invite you.
That's nice. Actually, last time I was dealing with this question with Hayato Sumino, I said Musa Kawasaki in Japan. I feel like I should say a different one now. And I am gonna agree with the guest here. Maybe, the Philharmonic in Warsaw. It does hold some good memories in my head, so it is actually maybe a very personal thing. Sound is wonderful. It's not extremely big, which I also appreciate. You get a sort of midway between a huge concert hall and a salon. You get like from both sides. You get a really nice atmosphere. Also, the people who usually go to the Philharmonic here in Warsaw are a pretty special audience, actually, and extremely polite and extremely respectful with anyone on the stage, which you can definitely feel. So I do agree with you. If you could talk in this case, if you could talk with any person related to art, let's put it like very, very big, someone who comes to mind. If you could talk with a person who is not with us anymore, related in any way, really, from a piano maker to a pianist to a painter, anyone, who might it be?
Oh, okay. I think sometimes I wonder. I wonder how it will be to, for example, have a conversation with Beethoven.
Yeah,
I really wonder something like I was saying before. how it is interesting for the audience to go and meet the pianist and hear the personality. After have heard like some of course, if not all of his repertoire of what he sorry, if not all of what Beethoven composed, but a lot of his greatest pieces, it would be nice to hear the tone of his voice.
Yeah.
That would be sometimes my my big question. So how, if like I have in front of me and interact, see his reaction, his small sort of his small tick, if he has any tick, any I like these details,
Yes.
on everybody, and I have, of course, I like to remember these and try to create a parallel with the music I heard. So
Yeah, that's it. We create an image of the personality of the
Yeah.
person with whom we are talking by the small things.
Yeah.
How they move their hands, the tone of their voice, how
Yeah.
they pronounce the things that they are saying.
Yeah.
That's actually, it would be very interesting to
Yeah.
put not only a face in the sense that we are seeing a painting, because that's all we have from Beethoven, but to actually put a face on him and know how he will react to something
Yeah.
very simple, like invite him for lunch. That,
Yeah,
that would be
exactly.
interesting. That would be very interesting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Last time with Hayato Semino, he mentioned Chopin. I would agree with him, as I said in the last episode. But this time, I have to say, I would love to talk with Cristofori. That's someone that, in the history of piano making, you inspired me for this. It would be very interesting to see what was really his thought on creating such an interesting instrument, and what was his maybe thoughts on why, how, hear it from his own voice, not just on writings. Again, over maybe a glass of wine, see what he has to say.
Yes, because it could be depressing, knowing that he made an instrument where maybe that it was not well accepted after.
Yeah.
So it could be depressing, but
Could be.
But at the same time, I think it would be interesting to hear his leverage, why he
Actually,
thought
yeah.
about that. So
Because he must have had an idea. Someone who invents something which is not well accepted, he must have had an idea for future. And I mean, we know some things, but we don't know the full picture. That was in his head, maybe in the head of his friends. So it would be very interesting, I think. Do you have any story that you might remember, maybe funny story, on working with artists, musicians, or even just making pianos at the Fazioli factory? Anything related to an interesting story of something that you didn't expect or was quite funny for you?
Well, okay. I can say, first of all, something which was impressing me back when I was working. I worked in the production for a little bit, and it was fascinating to see. One time I saw like one of our workers, he had a notebook, and he was drawing in the notebook how was the right process, the right way to work on a certain part of the structure of the piano. But I was really impressed by the precision, by the details of how he was drawing. It was literally like to see Giotto's sketch.
Okay.
And when I saw that, I realized how much passion, because he's not paid for the drawings. And definitely he never left to make his own piano. So he really did this for his out of his passion, and he's still with us and since many years. And then of course, this is the people who they care of what they are doing. So this is my one of my greatest memory. I think since I was a teenager back there, and of course another funny moment is like to see the fears of my parents when I was a baby and they were giving me like not them but the workers some piece of wood with the some hammers and screws, and and I was like trying not to hit the hammer on my my fingers.
Your fingers.
And luckily, I mean, I never really major injured myself. I always still have 5 plus 5 fingers. And but yeah, it was nice to work on it in front of those masters.
Yes.
What work, like say playing with those tools.
It's very nice. Well, actually, I was going to ask you about the
Mhm.
best live music performance you've ever attended, but you kind of said it before with Aldo Ciccolini, maybe. Or you want to say
Uh,
something different?
the best live performance. Well, definitely yes. The performance of Aldo is one of my greatest memories that inspired me. I mean, as a listener, of course,
Hmm.
not being a pianist myself, but I think um, it's nice to see when I have a certain reaction when I go to a concert and the audience have the same. But it happened to me also another weird case where I heard a performance which I didn't like, but the audience love it, you know?
That
And
happens, yeah.
yeah, well, to me, I
It
think luckily
happens a
only
lot.
one time to me. And I get kind of nervous, when I saw this, everybody clapping for this extremely virtuoso pianist
Hmm.
who to me killed the composition. And so that's something which I also, of course, I will remember. And sort of this experience instruct me of the common feeling that was 2 centuries ago, which
Hmm.
was maybe more often happening, that the pianist was playing his maybe composition, which was destroying, the common expectation
Yeah.
for audience. So yeah, this is something also to mention. I mean,
That's interesting that you get to happen to me several times. You get to, at least I get to question myself why I feel uncomfortable with when everybody loves it, and if it ever happens that I don't love it, why does it happen? Did I not get something? Or I always start
yeah.
questioning myself, and I never find an answer.
But it's good that you have this, because that means that you have your great opinion, and that's why you're a wonderful top class pianist, because you have these big dubs. But me, as a non pianist,
Mhm.
as an audience, I think it's strange,
You know what? I trust more actual music lovers audience sometimes. I trust them more on judging, or maybe just capturing the essence of what they are listening to, than pianists. You know why? Just because we are so long doing the same thing, listening to the same things, and just trying to uh, like move so many small things within an interpretation to make it better and better and better and better. We're really obsessed on repeating the same thing. That sometimes we have a vice. We have a
Mhm.
little bit of a problem on going and listening something that is really far from our idea of something. And with audiences, sometimes that doesn't happen. They are much more open. So that's also nice to see, that someone might be really happy about something, and I don't know why. I want
Mhm.
to know why.
Mhm. Interesting.
It gives freshness to me to see what did you like about it that I didn't get,
Yeah.
and many times I actually learn things from such situations.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How do you see that balance of keeping the past and making a better future
Mhm.
with this instrument?
Well, making a piano, the instrument piano is still nowadays something which is not, I would say, 100% discovered. Which means that we are also, we are always every day try to learn more. But even us, I mean, we don't know everything. And I don't think there is one piano maker in the world who can say that his piano is the best, or is arrived, and I say this because if like if a piano maker will say that his piano is the best, then literally every instrument from the first up to the last that is produced during the year should really sound as you want. But for the simple reason that every soundboard is so unique,
Mhm.
which comes from different trees, different matching, and there is always a percentage of distance between one piano next to the other one, even of the same size, the same brand, which makes those not just musical instrument, but literally piece of art.
Mhm.
Because even when you make one piano, you do your best to make it in a certain way, and then after maybe 5-10 years, they develop differently.
Mhm.
So it's always a magic which should continue during the year. Of course, what we try to do, of course, first we have learned and we study a lot of the past, because the idea was to understand why, for example, use the cast iron to make the frame and not other materials. And there is also an impact on the sound. It's not just a structural perspective, because there are experiments of people, a researcher who made the frame with the carbon fiber, for example, but the sound output of it is different. So we have to learn what experiments there have been done in the past, but at the same time we have to improve, and we should learn more, for example, how the soundboard reacts. That's why we always spend a lot of our income into research and development, to mapping the soundboard and to know how this can work better, both when you play pianissimo, both when you play mezzo forte, fortissimo, and in between. So there is a lot of still research to happen, and now we complicate our life because we also introduced a new model. So it's not 6 pianos, but now 7 models. So, but we like challenge, and it's always beautiful to discover, what if you do some change in the process, how this impact into the piano when it's finished, and also how it develops over time. We try to analyze this evolution of the piano even after the piano is sold, by collecting some data and comparing those data, sometimes when the piano is back, or in some years of this distance. So it is a big challenge. We have luckily really great colleagues in Sacile, and of course what is winning is the team, the more brains connected with a passion that works together, and we're really fortunate to have this.
So that's wonderful that you come to the idea of a piano with humbleness, on trying to discover a perspective, and not so much as I know everything. Just let me do my thing.
Yeah. Have to be.
It's actually wonderful.
It's also like the approach of a pianist. I think the best pianists are those who are humble. I mean, there's no
I do agree. I do agree.
You are a living life example, but if you think about who likes to have a discussion with a pianist who is full of himself? Sorry, no one. And maybe the music will respect the same.
It's also difficult to learn something, because even to explain something to someone, you have to try to put yourself in their situation. There is a process of humbling yourself to try to explain an idea, and that's why also it's sometimes difficult if that happens. That's completely true. Yes,
I agree.
What challenges do you think that classical music faces in our current state of the world, and perhaps also how can we, since we love what our dedication to music in one way or another, how can we give that thing that we hold so precious to much bigger audience in the world? There are plenty of people. I'm surprised that really love classical music. I thought it was much less when I was growing up, but there's plenty of people. I'm so happy to find that out every day. But what do you think that there are some challenges that we face?
I think from my point of view, of course, what it's important is to try to convince the audience to come to a live concert. So this is the goal. Now the point is, how can you achieve this? And sometimes it's important to not create something which can steal the interest for the audience to come, because if you create something which is too close to a live concert, but it's not, then audience will be tempted to stay home and for example, I'm pretty much opinionated on this, but here on your piano which playing on its own. For me, this is something which it's actually going against, because it's convincing the audience to to just stay home and let your piano play even without the artist. So I think this is the wrong way to attract audience. On the contrary, you take more distance from the audience. I think a good way to reach the audience is to try to work on the media, such as videos on YouTube, and try to create the interest to somebody at home to come to a live concert, and and but of course not to take the place of this. So I think if and of course I mean we're here in the hometown of Chopin, and the institute has been really great to support this, and I think if for the future more of those videos, I think, or even what we're
What we're
doing
doing
today, yeah,
now, it's
exactly.
actually an idea
This
to
is
reach more people.
to
Yeah.
reach more people, because to know more about Martins, now you can hear from the video your personality, but then what is translate this into music, so then come to hear your
Exactly. There
concert.
is always reasons behind what we do.
But we have to say this. I mean, it's not, and that's because then becomes something chemical speaking, some chemistry happen, and then when you go to a live concert, maybe you were gonna listen a rare composer like you mentioned before, Monpont, which maybe many people they don't know. They come to hear your Chopin. They will love to hear this, but then they say, oh, but what about this fascinated, this very interesting composer from Spain, and then maybe they will research more, and then it will the love will grow. So I think this is what we should do in the future, more of these media activities.
I remember a story, kind of sort to wrap it up, which is very funny because it goes a bit against what I think that we should do today, which is from Sviatoslav Richter. It's very funny because I don't know, most pianists in the world nowadays love him. This is a fact. But there is this story that that my professor told me when I was in class with her, Galina Yazarova, and she explained to me that once Richter was in ending a concert, and he was about to play an encore. And after such a concert, there were some people in the audience who came up to him. Those times in the Soviet Union, there was this wonderful practice. I don't know why nowadays it's not done anymore, in which the audience would come to the artist when they are still on stage and give them flowers, or maybe try to interact with them a little bit in the concert hall, in the hall, which is it's a beautiful sight. Always I see some pictures or videos, and it's beautiful to see. And in one of those people who were coming up to Richter before he played any encores asked him, or had a request for him, please play some Chopin, she said. And Richter, I don't know, he must have been in a bad mood, or he was like, I have enough of the audience. He must have been a little bit fed up maybe from his own personal situation, like any human being. He's really a human being. And his reaction was like, I have to teach this audience what is good music too. And he sat down and he played one of the hardest preludes and fugues by Shostakovich. The hardest, I mean, the hardest to listen for someone who was not used to maybe too percussive music, or music too far from the tonal side. And his reaction might seem like he hated the audience, but when you are actually speaking with people who knew him, it was really just a reaction of humanity. He was really a human. He loved his audience too. But that's a good anecdote to see the humanity on the artist, and also to see what not to do. He would advise everyone not to do that, which is just listen to the audience. We are here for the people who are listening. You make pianos for people to play them, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
We make music for people to listen, not for myself. Why do I need music to produce music for myself? That's not interesting. I'd rather go have lunch. My second lunch. So really just love the audience, get closer to them. That's really what I get from every chat that I have from someone who loves the world of music in general, not only classical, any world, any music. So thank you so much, Luca. Thank you for making the time. I'm so happy that we could meet in Warsaw, which is a very rare opportunity. So very happy. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thanks
Thank you for
for
being with
having
me.
me again.